Hey everybody, you probably recognize the sound of those bells and the sight of this kettle. You might even recognize this uniform. Every year at this time, the Salvation Army kicks off our annual Christmas Kettle Campaign. We do it usually with a big luncheon where all our sponsors and supporters come together. Can't do that this year, but we hope that the support will continue. Due to COVID-19, we've got to do things a little differently, but we're excited about it. For the very first time, we're launching our Christmas Kettle Campaign province-wide, not with a banquet, but with a live broadcast. Now here's our MC from CTV Calgary, Terry Fikowski.
Hello everyone and welcome to Hope in the City. This is the Salvation Army's annual and well-known Christmas Kettle Campaign kickoff, and we thank you for joining us wherever you are joining us virtually today. We are bringing you the show from Calgary, so I would like to recognize in the spirit of respect and acknowledge that we are on Treaty 7 territory, the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Nations, including Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, the Tsuut'ina Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda First Nations. Now we're calling this the Day of 1,000 Lunches, and thanks to today's sponsors, the Salvation Army is doing just that right now, delivering more than 3,000 meals and winter care packages across the province thanks to the help of our mobile response units and army of staff and volunteers. And we are in for quite the program today, so thanks again for joining us. We're all very excited, as I'm sure you are at home or at work, wherever you're joining us, with our keynote speaker, Hayley Wickenheiser. Hayley, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks, Terry, and good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here today.
It is great to have you. And we're looking forward to hearing more from Hayley and her keynote address about leadership and hope. And I think it's very safe to say right now that leadership and hope are more important than ever as communities across the province and across the country work together to respond to crisis and to help our neighbors that might be dealing with economic hardship and homelessness. And of course, it goes without saying that we have the addition of the COVID-19 pandemic and the challenges that come with it. But there are ways that you can help and show your support, and I'm happy to share those with you now. If you'd like to donate to the 2020 Christmas Kettle Campaign, you can do so by making a donation online at fillthekettle.com and click Donate. Simple enough. Or this year, you can also text Give Hope to 41010. Again, that's one word, Give Hope 41010. And the details should be there on your screen right now. But of course, you won't be missing the Christmas kettles. They will be out along with volunteers and communities across the province as you do your Christmas shopping. So you can still drop in your cash donations, which are greatly appreciated, but things are going to look a little bit differently this year. And you can also make a touchless donation just with the tap of your credit or debit card.
Hey everybody, Paul Brandt here. Welcome to the Day of 1,000 Lunches. It was my honor and pleasure to be last year's guest speaker at this event, and I send greetings along to my good friend and your host today, Hayley Wickenheiser. Hey Hayley. This year, it's more important than ever to support the Salvation Army Christmas Kettle Campaign. The Salvation Army contributes to our community and makes a huge difference with every donation made. When you're out and about and you see the great folks with Salvation Army this year, make sure that you pitch in and help out in any way you can. And they've made it pretty easy. Many locations even let you tap with your credit or debit card to make your donation, and you can rest assured that it's making a very positive impact in your community. Thanks.
My name is Chief Willie Littlechild, and as you know, times are tough and challenging. But you also know that communities step up to support each other during these difficult times. I urge you now to join Patrick LaForge and Hayley Wickenheiser to help the Salvation Army this Christmas by donating at their kettles or online, because you can make a difference in another person's life.
Chief Littlechild and Paul Brandt for those kind words. Now, before we continue, we want to recognize our sponsors for today's event and the Day of 1,000 Lunches, because without them, they wouldn't be possible. So a big thank you to today's presenting sponsors, including Wood Automotive Group, Mortgage Connection Limited, Flamin Group, Village Honda, and as well to our gold sponsors, Remington Development Corporation, there we are, GDI Integrated Facility Services, Canadian Natural Resources, WF Steel and Crane, Quadrille Property Groups, Daytona Homes, TC Energy, and to our media sponsors, CTV Calgary, whoop whoop, as well as Pyramid Creative.
Hi everybody, I'm Brett Kissel, wishing each and every one of you a very happy holiday season. During this time, even more so than any other year, we need to help each other out. We need to help out our community, which is why I'd like to ask each and every one of you to help support the Salvation Army and their Christmas Kettle Campaign this year.
Hi everyone, I'm Hayley Wickenheiser. In these unprecedented times, our community and the most vulnerable need us more than ever. That's why I encourage you to support the Salvation Army and the Kettle Campaign this Christmas.
Thank you to Brett and to Hayley, and we are going to hear more from Hayley in her keynote address a little bit later on in the show. Now, throughout the program, we're also going to be checking in on Salvation Army units across Alberta and the Northern Territories, just to share the good work that they are doing in their communities, especially during this very difficult year. But first, I would like to introduce you to the woman who leads them all. She is a very busy lady, an impressive one at that. Divisional Commander for the Alberta and Northern Territories, Major Margaret McLeod. Now, Major McLeod worked as an officer of the Salvation Army since 1994, not just in Canada, but in Papua New Guinea as well. So without further ado, welcome Major McLeod.
Thank you, Terry. It's certainly very good to be here this morning and to be able to say thank you to all of our supporters who are joining us from across the division. In previous years, we've shared a meal with you, and we've been able to kick off our annual Christmas Kettle Campaign. And although we can't be sitting one with another today, we can still share a meal. With the help of our sponsors, we're providing nearly 3,000 meals and winter care packages. Our staff and volunteers have been busy filling bags with socks, hats, gloves, and other essential items. And today we're distributing those along with lunches across the province and the Northern Territories. Thank you to everyone who helped make this possible. These lunches and these essential gift bags that we are distributing are small, but they communicate that someone cares. A little bit of warmth, a little bit of food, a few essential items given on a cool November day suggests to the receiver that they have not been forgotten about. They've not been overlooked. The small gesture celebrates someone cares. 365 days a year, the Salvation Army in many communities across Alberta and Canada provide care in small and large ways to let everybody know someone cares. The Salvation Army, as it launches its Kettle Campaign, seeks to raise funds that will be used in communities where the funds are raised in our desire to offer a message of both care and hope. Throughout the generosity of communities in Alberta and the Northern Territories, the Salvation Army is able to execute its mission that states that the Salvation Army exists to share the love of Jesus Christ, meet basic human needs, and be a transforming agent in the communities that we serve. Thank you for your support.
And thank you for those words, Major McLeod. I'm also pleased to announce that more than 3,000 meals and winter care packages have now been delivered to communities across Alberta. That includes Calgary, Edmonton, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, High River, Drumheller, Red Deer, Wetaskiwin, I got a big list here, St. Albert, Lloydminster, Fort McMurray, Grand Prairie, Peace River, and up in the Territories, Yellowknife and Whitehorse. So I think that deserves a round of applause. Well done, everybody. And it has, of course, as I've mentioned a few times, been such a challenging year, and the Salvation Army really has stepped up to the challenge and offered help to those who need it, especially during this pandemic. So to learn more, we're going to check in with Vanessa Sim from the Army Center of Hope in Edmonton.
Salvation Army has been serving the community of Edmonton since 1893. And this year, the COVID-19 pandemic has pushed us to change many of the ways we serve those who need us. Since March, Salvation Army ministries in Edmonton and the Central Region, including St. Albert, Lloydminster, Wetaskiwin, and Red Deer, have continued to support their communities as people have turned to us for help in these difficult days. As we know, COVID never goes away, whether it's at work or whether it's at home, it's just always there. And so we've been trying to be creative about some of the things we're doing to take care of our staff and those we serve. This means increasing sanitation, wearing masks, temperature checks, increased hand washing, and appointment-only consultations. We've needed to become really creative in how we do things. Food hamper distribution has been by appointment only or curbside pickup, which allowed our staff to implement a safer way for individuals and families to continue receiving the help they need while maintaining physical distance. How do we serve smaller groups of people and yet accomplish the same thing, which you can only imagine at a center like ours, from supported living seniors care right down to sheltering. So our treatment program actually closed for 2 months. We've now reopened at half capacity, which is 14 beds versus 28. But we're really happy to have our staff back on board and providing this really important program in our community. Working in the middle of a pandemic has been challenging, but the Salvation Army is just as busy as ever and still serving any person who needs us. Your support enables us to continue to safely serve our neighbors in need.
This year's Salvation Army Christmas Kettle Campaign is going to look a little different. There'll be fewer kettles out there, but the need is just as great and perhaps greater. That's why I encourage everybody to do what you can to contribute to the Salvation Army Christmas Kettle Campaign. 100% of the proceeds go to help the least fortunate in our society, and that's particularly important during this tough year. Let me thank all of the volunteers and officers of the Salvation Army for what they do to support the less fortunate, what they've done for over a century, and the ways in which they continue to serve our community. And to all of you who are contributing, Merry Christmas.
Well, Mayor Don Iveson here, and it's been a challenging year, and it was challenging before that here in Alberta, before the pandemic, and people are really struggling. Families are struggling, people are out of work, and so your generosity, and this community is so generous, and the work of the Salvation Army, which has been so effective in combating poverty and homelessness and helping turn people's lives around, that work has never been more important in our lifetimes. And so I really do encourage you in this season of giving to give generously to the Salvation Army.
Thanks for joining us again, wherever you are tuning in today for the Salvation Army's Christmas Kettle Campaign kickoff. And I have some very exciting news to share. This is just in. The Calgary Flames Foundation have committed to matching donations to the Salvation Army to a maximum of $25,000. That's huge. The Calgary Flames Foundation have donated over $2.5 million to Southern Alberta charities since March through the Calgary Flames Foundation COVID-19 Community Support Program. And I think I can speak on behalf of everyone here to say thank you so much for this commitment, up to, again, $25,000 for this great initiative. It's so very much appreciated. So on that positive note, I'm going to throw it back over to Major Al Heff.
Hi again, everyone. Every year, the Salvation Army rises to the challenge of responding to unforeseen need in the communities that we serve. In 2011, it was the Slave Lake Fire. 2 years later, we had devastating floods in Calgary and southern Alberta. And who can forget the massive fire in Fort McMurray in 2016? Between these major disasters, though, the Salvation Army continues to respond to emergencies, bringing physical, emotional, and spiritual care to those thousands of people in need in their times of crisis. How do we do it? Well, here to tell you more about that is our Divisional Director of Emergency Disaster Services, Carolyn Barkhouse.
When disaster strikes, the Salvation Army is ready to respond, bringing hope where there is destruction and despair. Our services are holistic in nature, addressing all aspects of wellness through 4 core services: food and hydration services, emotional and spiritual care, donations management, and disaster social services. Within the Salvation Army, our flagship response is food service provided through our fleet of mobile kitchens. Positioned across Alberta from Lethbridge to Fort McMurray, we have 8 mobile kitchens ready to deploy anywhere in the province. When we were redesigning our mobile kitchens, we wanted to ensure that they had the necessary equipment to be self-sufficient out on deployment, as well as the ability to provide a variety of food types. So we've installed full-size fridge and freezers. We have a 6-burner stovetop, an oven, a grill, but the most exciting feature we added are the tilt skillets. We can serve up to 2,000 meals a day, anything from beef stroganoff to stir fry to a roast in the oven. Within the past decade, we have responded to all major disasters in Alberta: the 2011 Slave Lake wildfire, the 2013 Southern Alberta floods, the Beast wildfire in Fort McMurray in 2016, the 2019 Chuck Egg fire in northwestern Alberta, and most recently this spring's flooding in Fort Vermilion and Fort McMurray. But our services aren't restricted just to large-scale events. Every day, our volunteers are ready to respond in the smaller moments: the local house fire, the local search and rescue, the local police investigation. One of the more famous quotes of our founder, General William Booth, is simply a one-word message he sent to encourage Army personnel around the world: others. As disasters continue to occur and people face traumatic and life-changing events, we will continue to respond because we are called to serve others.
Thank you, Carolyn. And the emergency response units are being mobilized today to distribute thousands of meals as well as winter care packages to communities across the province. Of course, that is due in large part to the very hard work and support of today's sponsors. So I would also like to introduce to you a presenting sponsor from Wood Auto Group and a very familiar face here in Calgary, Mr. Jerry Wood. Thanks for being here. Now, joining Jerry in just a moment, because I'm going to step off stage with safety in mind, of course, is another very familiar face in Calgary and the honorary co-chair of today's event to talk a little bit more about the important work that the Salvation Army is doing this year, Mr. George Brookman.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you for that thunderous applause. I appreciate that. I'd like to thank you, Jerry Wood, for being here today and for everything you do for this city. It's amazing. And I'd also like to acknowledge Patrick LaForge, who is the other honorary co-chair in Edmonton. He is my equal in Edmonton. Maybe he's greater than me. I'm not sure. You never can tell. But anyway, he's terrific, and we had a lot of fun doing this, and it's been great. Jerry?
Thanks, George. Really appreciate it. It wouldn't be Christmas without the Salvation Army Christmas kettles. We all know and love them. And this year we have more exciting news to tell you.
This year, our volunteers will be manning the kettles all throughout Alberta. But we have a new twist this year. Yes, we still want you to feel like you can put your cash in, your toonies, your loonies, your $20 bills or whatever. But this year you'll be able to use a tap as well. You'll be able to tap and use your credit card and make it simple, make it non-touch, whatever you want to do. So we think that's a new innovative idea, and remember that every kettle will have a tap. Jerry?
Or if you like, you can go online to filteredkettle.com by texting also Give Hope to 410 410. That's Give Hope 410 410.
And now it's time for our very first honorary donation of the Christmas Kettle Campaign of 2020 from Mr. Jerry Wood. Go for it, Jerry. A toonie, yay! I'm sure that toonie had a 1952 date on it or something. Very good to see that, Jerry. And as mentioned earlier, over 3,000 lunches are being distributed right now all through Alberta, in Fort McMurray, in Lethbridge, in Medicine Hat, in Edmonton, and in Calgary, all by the Salvation Army. Our thanks to Jerry, of course, and the Wood Automotive Group, but I also want to thank Mortgage Connections, what a great group of young people who've been so supportive. The Flamin Group, the Village Honda, and of course my own Calgary Flames Foundation, who have just done a fantastic support. Jerry?
Yeah. It's our distinct privilege to be able to do this for the Salvation Army and make a difference in the community. Now let's check with Major Denise Walker to give you an update on what's going on in Calgary. Thank you.
It seems impossible that the Salvation Army has been serving Calgary and southern Alberta since 1887. So much has changed since then, yet so much has remained. The streets are paved now, and there's fewer horses on the streets, and the little railway town of 1887 has grown to this incredible city of almost 1.5 million. What hasn't changed are people struggling to make ends meet. There is poverty today, and people in need of support. So the Salvation Army is still here, still serving, still helping those who come to our doors, looking for help, looking for a hand up, looking for hope today. That support may have changed over the years. It may not look like a soup line anymore, but it may look like an English as a second language course for new immigrants, a supportive housing program to help women get off the streets, a thrift shop offering low-cost items for families on tight budgets, food security programs, addiction recovery programming, emergency sheltering for men, and of course, Christmas hamper programs, providing for families at this season of joy and celebration. And while these programs are available in Calgary, many of the programs are also available in our locations throughout southern Alberta, in places like Drumheller, High River, Lethbridge, and Medicine Hat. In all of these communities, the Salvation Army is working to make a difference in the lives of ordinary Albertans. It's a struggle, and even more so in these challenging days of COVID-19. Yet the Salvation Army fights on to support those we feel called to serve. In his last public address, the founder of the Salvation Army, William Booth, said, "While women weep as they do now, I'll fight. While children go hungry as they do now, I'll fight. While men go to prison in and out as they do now, I'll fight. While there is one lost girl upon the streets, while there is one dark soul without the light of God, I'll fight. I'll fight to the end." It is our commitment to keep on fighting, not for ourselves, but for those who need our help.
Hi everyone, I'm George Canyon. I just want to take a moment and encourage everyone to support the Salvation Army Kettle Campaign this year. A day of 1,000 lunches where the Salvation Army is going to prepare over 3,000 winter care kits, and 1,000 of which are going to be distributed here in the Calgary area alone. Do your best, do what you can. God bless the Salvation Army.
Hi, I'm Nahid Nenshi, Mayor of Calgary. You know, one of the only blessings of 2020 is that this year you won't get to hear me sing Christmas carols off-key while ringing the bells for the annual Salvation Army Christmas Kettle Campaign. But I encourage you to support the campaign and support the Salvation Army. In a year where so many have lost so very much, it's our opportunity for those of us who can afford to give, to dig a little deeper, to give a little more, and bring a little light and hope in this COVID Christmas. Thank you for supporting the Salvation Army's annual Christmas Kettle Campaign.
I thought, what could I do? Lowly medical student sitting on my couch in my home. The only thing I knew to do was to send out a tweet. And so I tweeted it out to the universe thinking we could collect PPE for maybe 6 or 7 hospitals across Ontario that I knew needed them. Within 10 minutes of sending out that tweet, my friend, and you all know him, Ryan Reynolds, great Canadian actor, he sent me a message and said, "Hayley, would you like me to amplify that?" And so I knew within a few minutes about 35 million people were going to see that message. And what came of that was over the next 24 hours, we had over 300 legitimate emails from people all across the world who wanted to donate, help, and step up to be a part of the PPE collection campaign. It was truly one of the greatest teams things I've ever been a part of, a grassroots movement, and it shows the power of community, of people banding together, and that we can be down, but we're never truly out. Now, similar to what we did with the Conquer COVID-19 campaign is exactly what we're doing here today with the Salvation Army Christmas Kettle Campaign. It looks a little different, it feels a little different, but the need and the demand is greater than ever. And I've been through 6 Olympic Games, 5 winter, 1 summer, and the journey to each of those Olympic medals has been very unique and very different. And on the very last day of boot camp, we rolled up to the arena, 6 o'clock in the morning, our coaching staff met us there with these U-Haul vans, opened the door, and out came 27 of the worst mountain bikes that you could imagine. And what they said to us was, you guys are going to take these bikes and you are going to climb to the top of Apex Mountain, and then you can go home. Hours later, way longer than it would take a normal person riding a road bike, we ended up getting our team to the top of this mountain. But what we knew on that day, 11 months out of the Olympic Games in Sochi, was we were tired, we were ready to go home, we missed our families. What we didn't know is in the overtime of the gold medal final in the Sochi Olympics, we would be talking about that day on Apex Mountain.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Terry. We couldn't have done this without you today, so I really appreciate your stepping in. Hayley, first and foremost, as a dad, as a coach of kids in hockey and girls in hockey, I can't thank you enough on so many fronts. But I will just limit it to saying I think what you have done to be the heart and soul of this country when the country needed it, to be a voice for Conquer COVID, I can't thank you enough on behalf of everyone for what you've done. For what you've done for this event, again, I think it's evidence throughout your career, you have stepped up when you were needed. So again, thank you. Lastly, I will just say to our donors, our sponsors, what you've done this year, not just for your financial support, what you did to give this event confidence in the beginning, it's really what it's all about. When we came to you and said, we don't know what this is going to look like, we don't even really know if the event's going to happen, you stepped up and you said, we're there, we believe in the Red Kettle Campaign, we are there to support you in any way, unqualified, so just make it happen. And with that, I will just say to our sponsors again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hayley, I think that brings us to a wrap. I will fire it over to you, but again, just a big thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. And on behalf of Scott, Terry, all of us here in our socially distanced studio, and the Salvation Army that does such amazing work across this country, we want to thank all of you for joining us today, and we wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Take care, everyone.
Hi everybody, Jan Arden here. I hope you join me this year for the Red Kettle event hosted by the Salvation Army. You know what? It just would not be Christmas for thousands of Albertans without your support. You can text your donation. How easy is that? Red Kettle event for the Salvation Army. Make a difference in so many people's lives. Give them a Merrier Christmas and a happier New Year. I'm going to text my donation right now.
Hello, I'm Lieutenant Governor Salma Lakhani, and it is indeed my pleasure to wish the Salvation Army every success for the Kettle Campaign for 2020. This has been a difficult year for all of us, but it is particularly so for those who are facing additional challenges. Each one of us can make a difference by sharing our love, understanding, and support. We can give hope to people in our communities who need it most, and that is the greatest gift any one of us can offer.
Thank you to the Lieutenant Governor and Jan Arden for those messages. And be like Jan, text right now. Give Hope 410-100. for a donation today. Now we're going to continue our tour across the province and check in with the Salvation Army in Grand Prairie with Captain Peter Cam.
The Salvation Army is working throughout the northern part of the division to serve individuals and families, helping them meet life's challenges. Whether it's in Whitehorse, Yellowknife, Peace River, or here in Grand Prairie. Together, we are giving hope today.
We've been serving the needs of our community for over 100 years, feeding thousands of men, women, and children who are struggling with food insecurity. In 2020, the Grand Prairie Salvation Army fed over 4,000 meals to flood victims in Fort Vermilion for 3 weeks, even during a pandemic, using our Emergency Disaster Services mobile food truck. Our annual Rotary Community Food Bank Drive in previous years collected 50 tons of food with 1,000 volunteers going door to door, all done in 3 hours. This annual event filled our shelves for the year, allowing 4,010 households to receive hampers. We are serving over 33,000 hot meals, breakfast, lunch, and supper in partnership with the Grand Prairie Friendship Center by forming a community kitchen, eliminating duplication of services, increasing capacity, and being better stewards of our donor dollars. Ultimately, our goal is ending poverty, eliminating food insecurity. Through our Pathway of Hope, we are journeying with families through a holistic approach, physically, financially, socially, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. By getting at the root causes of poverty, and not just providing services or things, we are empowering people with hope, moving families and individuals from insecurity to stability, thus ending intergenerational poverty. Together, we are giving hope today. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Dickinson, the head coach of the Calgary Stampeders. I'm looking for your support for the Salvation Army Kettle Drive. We're looking for a big time need this year as we've all had a crazy 2020. You can donate by tap or text at many kettle locations throughout the community.
Hi, I'm Janet Riopel, President and CEO of the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce. You know, in difficult times like these, we need to harness the power of supporting each other and making sure that no one gets left behind. The Salvation Army does this so well, and their Christmas campaign supports our most vulnerable. So please, do whatever you can. Support the Salvation Army this Christmas, because together, we can make a difference.
Coach Dickinson, and to everyone who has sent in messages of hope and support today to the Salvation Army and the Day of 1,000 Lunches. And of course, it wouldn't be possible without today's sponsors, so let's take another moment to acknowledge our silver sponsors. That includes Canna Construction, Centerra Foods, Brookfield Properties, Trio Vest Realty Advisors, Elliston Construction, Cervantage Services, Volvo of Edmonton, RGO, Trimac, and West Canadian Digital Imaging. And also, of course, a shout out to our bronze sponsors, Aspen Properties, Colliers International, JLL Marshall Toner, RBC Capital Markets, Norton Rose Fulbright, CBRE, Kayera, DEMA Land Services, Enright Capital, Foster Park, and McLeland Ross LLP. Let's give them a round of applause.
We've been here for 9 years and we've gone through 2 floods and of course the wildfire of 2016. So getting rebuilt after all of these disasters is an absolute challenge in itself. We were the go-to agency for the city itself. We were the first on scene with for the first responders. We held out here for just about 2 months with these folk and feeding them sometimes up to 3,000 meals a day. We're very privileged to be here in Fort McMurray to do the work of the Salvation Army. If the Salvation Army were to close its doors, the city would have to come up with about $16.5 million to do the work that the Salvation Army does for this city and its people. and the Salvation Army is being forward and frontline with helping people through some of their financial situations with COVID-19 and with the downturn in the economy as well. So we're still frontline. We're still an agency that's out there helping out wherever we can. We've served about 400 meals to the seniors to date. For the homeless population, that's an everyday experience for the Salvation Army here in Fort McMurray. The Christmas Kettle Campaign is the biggest fundraiser, and you help us to help others. So the little donation, no matter how small, helps us to feed our people, clothe our people, and help with some of their financial challenges. Do the best you can for all the people you can, as long as you can. All right? And smile when you do it. God bless you. Don't forget to tap or text this holiday season. Merry Christmas from the Salvation Army, Fort McMurray.
And that does conclude our day of 1,000 lunches. We thank you so much for tuning in wherever you are joining us today, for your support throughout the year to the Salvation Army, and of course your help kicking off the Red Kettle Campaign. Now don't forget, you can donate by heading to the website fillthekettle.com. You can also text Give Hope, one word, to 41010. And of course you can always slip a couple bills and cash donations into the kettles and do that touchless donation this year with your credit or debit card. And one last reminder and a big thank you to the Calgary Flames Foundation, who are going to be matching every donation up to a maximum of $25,000. We know that every dollar counts, and we appreciate your support now more than ever. Once again, we'd like to give a big thank you and recognition to today's presenting sponsors, including Wood Automotive Group, Mortgage Connection Limited, Flamin Group, Village Honda, and to today's media sponsors, CTV Calgary and Pyramid Creative. I will close with thanking you so much for having me here today. It's an honor to be here with all of you and to support an organization doing so much great work in the community. With that said, Merry Christmas, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great holiday season.
Yay!